Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Emi's Path, the final part. Yes, Emi's journey finally comes to an end today, so let's read on, folks. But somehow I know that Emi probably needs more time than the bus ride will provide to get it all out, whatever it is. Yeah, maybe you're right. The bus stop probably isn't the best place for this anyway. But just to make sure that I don't go back on my word, I'll at least say this. She takes a deep breath, lets it out, and after a moment says in a low voice, "We're going to see my dad today." The words hang in the air, and I can see that Emi's afraid that I'll panic and disappear in response, which a part of me almost wants to do. But it would be stupid of me to back out, or to suddenly abandon the promise I made to be there for Emi when she needs me. The nurse thought it was so weird of her to bring me along. She doesn't bring anyone along, or at least I'm willing to bet that she hasn't before today. The day seems to take on an even greater significance. What has it taken Emi to even get this far? Ah. And why is that the best I can manage as a response? Yeah. I don't know what I should say. Nothing, I think. Just promise that you're going to come with me. Of course, you know I will. Emi smiles wanly, looking a little relieved. Good. In that case, we'd better get going. The bus pulls up just a little after she finishes the sentence. Vague memories of my first trip out here come to mind as I step off the bus, but unfortunately they're too vague to be of any use. I will be the first to admit that I don't quite recall how to get to Emi's house, so I let her lead the way. She seems content to walk in silence, and I myself have no idea what I could possibly say, so the two of us arrive at our house having said nothing since getting off the bus. Emi's mother opens the door and doesn't seem surprised to see me standing next to her daughter. I expect that Emi would have phoned ahead to let her mother know of the change in plans. Emi, Hisao, you're just in time. Lunch is just about ready. Great! I was afraid we might be running late. As fast as you were going this morning, I doubt there was much of a chance of that. I certainly hope she wasn't too much of a bother, Hisao. She tends to get a little paranoid about being on time when food's involved. I hadn't noticed. This earns me a swat on the arm from Emi, who, despite the serious nature of our conversation on the bus and the almost brooding quiet walk, has quickly become cheerful again. Probably to keep her mother from worrying about whatever it is Emi plans to tell me later. Miss Ibarazaki ushers us in, and in short order we're around the table devouring lunch. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until I got here, but for once I seem to be eating almost as much as Emi. Goodness, it's a good thing I made so much. The two of you are acting like you haven't eaten in days. I skipped breakfast this morning. Me too. Had to catch the bus, I assume? That and I figured you'd make too much food so it wouldn't matter if I skipped breakfast. Well, it's good to know that I'm predictable. Emi nods enthusiastically, and conversation falls off again as we very nearly clear the table of anything edible. It is a testament to the sheer amount of food on offer that we don't finish everything. I lean back in my chair with a sigh and thank Miss Ibarazaki for the food. I'm glad you liked it, Hisao. Now, has Emi told you where we were going? Yeah, sort of. Is it far from here? Not really, but we'll drive there to save time. It closes kind of early. I nod in assent and stand up, ready to go. Well then, shall we? Miss Ibarazaki nods and leaves the room to grab her keys. Emi, I notice, has started to fidget nervously. Second thoughts? Emi smiles tightly at me and shrugs. She's fallen silent again, which probably means that I'm right, and she's starting to regret bringing me along. Not that I blame her, she's done such a good job of shutting me out that I doubt it's easy to suddenly open up. Honestly, I'm worried that she's forcing it. But she said while waiting for the bus that I'm not supposed to give her a chance to back out. And since I promised to go with her anyway, I suppose there's not much of a choice. I can't go back on my promise, and she can't go back on hers. I just hope the both of us are up to it. We're off! Emi's mother blows through the dining room, collects the two of us, and heads out the door at a brisk pace. Now I know where her daughter gets it from. The car pulls up at the cemetery gates, and I feel Emmy tense up beside me. I reach over and give her a hand a comforting squeeze, which causes her to relax a little. Emmy's mother doesn't follow us, explaining that she prefers to visit the grave alone. Emmy steps through the gates and looks back, as if to make sure I'm still there. We step into the cemetery. I don't feel comfortable in cemeteries. Gravestones litter the ground, each one serving as a reminder that someone used to be alive and is no longer. How many died young? How many were as old as I am now? When do I wind up with a marker of my own? How much longer do I have left? The concept of not waking up, not seeing Emmy anymore is not a happy one. It frightens me, and I very nearly turn around and exit right then and there. I don't want to go among dead people. I don't want to see their stones and think about who they were or what they could have been if they had only more time. Then I look at the girl next to me, and my resolve returns. Emmy striding purposefully down the path, eyes clear, setting a pace that's very nearly a jog. The sooner we get there, I suspect she thinks, the better. We're here. A gravestone, wholly unremarkable in everything except for the name etched upon it. The grass has grown up around the base. Emmy's eyes are riveted to the stone. After a few moments, she turns around, looking surprisingly calm, yet solemn. Pink's not actually my favorite color, you know. What? I'm warming up to it. Ah. People tend to think that pink's my favorite color. I think it's because I like strawberries, and even though those are red, they just assume that pink's the right color for strawberries. And that it's my favorite color, but it's not. I'm too polite to tell anyone otherwise, of course, and it's not the kind of thing worth getting worried about. But I'll bet even you thought pink was my favorite color. Blue. That's my favorite color. My mom and dad are the only two who know that, and now you do too. Thanks for telling me, I think. You're welcome. There's a pause as she considers what to say next, drawing a quick breath. I can't carry a tune to save my life. I can hum, but actually singing a song is something I've never been able to do. I don't mind, because I'm not a fan of karaoke anyway. Well, that's one potential date idea out the window. People all think that I'm a really popular and friendly person, but I only have a few close friends, probably because I keep everyone in the dark, but I think it's also because I hate the idea of losing a close friend. There aren't many people worth the risk. I'm terrible at saying goodbye. I sometimes think that I only run because it's what I used to do with my father. You're not my first boyfriend. I dated a guy for a long while during my second year at Yamaku, but in the end we broke up because I didn't want to get closer to him. He couldn't live with that distance between us. Her rate of speaking increases slightly, as if she's rushing towards a finish line. I'm actually 1 year older than you. Everybody thinks I'm younger because I'm short, but I had to skip one school year because of my accident. They initially thought I was paralyzed when they pulled me out of the wreckage. I'd lost my legs already, but they were afraid that I wouldn't even be able to use what was left of them. After surgery, it was clear that their initial assessment was mistaken. I couldn't feel my legs because of shock. Short-term paralysis due to the other trauma I'd experienced. My recovery was one of the fastest they'd ever seen, or so they told me. I never found out if they were serious about that or if they told that to all the patients learning to walk again. She pauses, gathering herself for one last effort. 8 years ago today, I lost my legs, and I lost my father as well. He died on the way to the hospital. I didn't even get to go to the gravesite until 2 months later and couldn't attend his funeral. I'm so sorry. Don't be. That's what everyone always says, that they're sorry. I hate hearing that. Like anyone could have done anything to change what happened. You know the best piece of advice I got? These things happen. I don't even remember who said it, but I guess they didn't have anything better to say. But it's true, you know? These things happen and there's nothing you can do about it. They aren't necessarily planned and they aren't always bad. And they aren't always good. But they are. So I made the decision that I would live without worrying about the future. And to be sure that I never had to say goodbye again. I decided I wouldn't let people get close to me anymore. After all, they could be taken away at any time, and you know what? She laughs a little bitterly. Her eyes start to well up with tears, and I step forward to embrace her, but she holds up a hand to stop me. Not finished. A deep breath, and she continues. It worked pretty well, until I met you and saw that you were trying to adjust the stuff here. So I thought I'd help, and then you were so nice and I couldn't help it. I just... The tears are flowing now, and she accepts the embrace this time. The rest of her sentence is mumbled into my chest. I tried not to fall for you, but I did. And then I tried to keep you at a distance, like with my first boyfriend, but I couldn't. But I've been so scared because I don't want to lose you, and I might anyway. Hey, I'm still around, right? And maybe I won't be forever, but don't you think it'll be fun while it lasts? Neither of us could survive the day. There could be a bus crash or something, but so long as I know that I've been with you, I don't think it matters. A sudden thought strikes me, and I can't help laughing. My condition has had me scared of dying so badly that I immediately seized on the opportunity Emmy presented to improve my odds of living longer. But without Emmy, would there have been any motivation to keep up with my running? It hits me that Emmy is the reason I want to go running every day, so I can spend as much time with her as possible. Emmy looks up at me confused. We'll go on living until we stop, and when we stop living we'll be able to know that at least we've had time together, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I love you, Emmy, and right now, that's enough for me. Emmy smiles through her tears and steps back from me. You know, it's funny. What is? I thought that the best way to live in the moment was to do it alone, but now I don't think I'd have it any other way either. I'm glad I met you, Hisao. Well, these things happen. Emmy and I stay by the grave for a while as Emmy pays her respects to her father. When she's ready to go, we exit the graveyard side by side. Yeah, I got a bit choked up in that scene. Emmy's mother drives us back to Yamaku. The trip back is very quiet. We wave goodbye as the car drives off, and I glance down at the girl leaning on my arm. How are you feeling? Emmy shrugs noncommittally. I'll be fine. Come on, let's go. We pause outside the girl's dorm, and I turn to face Emmy, ready to say goodbye. Why don't you come up for a while? Okay. The walk up to her room is in silence. I'm not sure why I supposed I'd be turned away at the door. I guess I just assumed she'd want to be alone. Her mom, the nurse, hell, everyone who knew the significance of today seemed to think it best to leave Emmy alone. But she took me into the graveyard with her. She told me the whole story of what happened on the day she lost her legs. She wanted me around. The significance of this does not escape me. Emmy opens the door and steps into her room, not even bothering to invite me in, holding the door for me expectantly. I step in and the door swings shut behind me. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Sure, can't guarantee I'll do it, but... Emmy giggles and pulls me into a kiss that starts out soft but deepens into something almost desperate. Stay with me, please. Her voice is dropped to a whisper. The question is barely audible over the sound of my own breathing. There's something about the way that she asked that question, the hesitancy in it, the quiet voice that makes me think she doesn't mean tonight. No, she means exactly what she said, stay with me. Not tonight or forever, because both of us know there's no such thing as forever. There's no time limit to her request, there's just a request. The favor. Can I do that? Can I stay with her? Of course. We embrace again, Emmy guiding me towards her bed, stepping backwards with care, until she sits down on the edge. Yep, got another one of those. Cue the editing. She's gotten my shirt off by this point, and I have similarly lifted hers over her head, bra and all. Her shorts come off just as quickly. With practiced ease, she removes her legs and pulls me onto the side of the bed with her, my hand coming around her smooth shoulder. I cast my gaze over her face, down her neck, following the lines of the swell of her breasts before I lower my head, planting kisses across her chest, listening to her breath hitch as her hand slides further and further down my chest. As I work my way back up to her neck, I can feel her hands working at my belt, now fumbling slightly with the buckle, now unbuttoning, now unzipping until my pants fall to the floor. Her panties are noticeably darkened in the right place, showing that my earlier ministrations have produced some results. I step back quickly and shuck my boxers and move back in as Emmy reaches over into a drawer on her nightstand, removing a small foil package. She tears it open with a quick jerk of her teeth and reaches down to apply the protection, which, as always, causes me to gasp a little. Her expression suddenly changes as she takes the view of me in. Wait a second, are you still in your socks? I pause and look down. Apparently I am. Yeah, does that matter? Take them off. It's weird if you still have them on. You know, you've still got your socks on, too. Yes, but I don't have my legs on, so it doesn't count. Unable to deny her logic and impatient to have the conversation over anyway, I quickly remove the offending items. I'm so eager to get back at Emmy that I practically jump on top of her, pushing her down playfully. Emmy's giggling and squirming quickly ends, replaced by a happy sigh as I enter her. Breathing deeply as she savors the feeling, she spreads her arms to grab the sheets. Her breath is in my ear as I begin moving, whispering words of encouragement, nipping at my neck, now at my mouth. My hips hit the edge of the mattress, shaking the bed. A part of my brain briefly wonders if I should try to be quieter before succumbing to the waves of pleasure racing up my spine. Emmy's stomach tenses as she grows closer to the edge, and as our bodies both begin to glisten with sweat, time begins to become hazy. The sound of my own breathing mingles with Emmy's panting, and I ready myself for a final surge before surrendering to the rushing wave of climax. Emmy's body shudders and she cries out, her fingers digging into my back as I too lose control of myself. My back arches as I let myself go, feeling my body spasm as I orgasm. I collapse next to Emmy, who almost immediately curls against me, smiling. Mentally, I feel grateful that Emmy keeps her nails short, otherwise I think she might have drawn blood. I sit up briefly to dispose of the now-used condom and lay back down next to Emmy, who's in turn taking care of cleaning herself off. For a while we lay in silence, savoring the feeling of being next to one another. Emmy is the first to speak. Hey, Hisao? Thanks for coming with me today. I smile and plant a kiss on her head. Of course, my pleasure. Emmy snuggles closer and I can feel her breathing begin to slacken as she begins to drift off to sleep. Just as she's about to fall asleep, she wakes up enough to mutter a single sentence. I love you, Hisao. Then she's out like a light, leaving me feeling like I'm on top of the world. I draw the slumbering Emmy as close as possible, pull the covers over us to keep the chill off, and fall asleep as happy as I've ever been. Yeah, that was yanking at some of my heartstrings. My eyes welled up again. The feels, man. This game makes you feel them all. The morning light seems to reach further into Emmy's room than it does into mine. This results in my waking up earlier than I would have if I had gone back to my room last night, as had previously been our routine. I did not realize it until this morning, but this is the first time we've actually spent the night together. A small movement from my partner's still slumbering form causes me to look to the side. Hair splayed across her face, Emmy continues to sleep peacefully, curled up next to me. It's slightly weird seeing her without her trademark twin tails, but it's also a look I could get used to. The small size of the beds here necessitates her curling up, but I'm pretty sure she would have done so anyway. The covers are nearly over her head, and I smile as an errant strand of hair causes her nose to twitch slightly. Unable to help myself, I draw her a little closer, a move which she seems to think is a good idea. Her steady breath raises a trail of goosebumps on my chest, but I don't mind. I am no longer tired, but I do not feel a need to move from my current position. Emmy's warm body and repose against mine is far too comfortable to move. I gaze up at the ceiling and consider how it is that we got to this point. We've been close for a while, but not this close. It seems like only yesterday that she ran into me in the hallway and after apologizing decided to take an interest in my well-being. But that grew into something else, which I at least was not expecting. One thing is for certain, having found Emmy, I will try as hard as I can not to lose her. My morning musing is interrupted by further movement from Emmy. Her eyes flutter open and she seems briefly confused by my presence in her bed, as well as her current state of dress, which is non-existent. Then she smiles happily and sits up, her face looking down at me.
Good morning, Hisao.
Hi, sleep well?
Yeah, I did. Exhausting day yesterday, you know?
I think back over yesterday's trip to the graveyard. Yeah, glad to hear you slept well.
How'd you sleep?
Well, enough, although you kept hogging the covers. This earns me a shove and a stuck-out tongue. I chuckle, and Emmy giggles a little, and we fall quiet for a while. I soak up the feeling of how right it all seems, waking up with Emmy by me, crammed into a bed made for one person. It's something I could get used to.
Hey, Hisao?
Hmm?
Thanks for sticking around.
No problem. Saved me to walk back anyway, right? This draws another giggle, but then Emmy's expression turns serious again.
No, really, I kept trying to push you away because I thought that was the right thing to do, and you stuck around through it all. I haven't made any of this easy for you, but you stuck it out anyway. So really, I mean it. Thank you.
She punctuates this by giving me a kiss, pulling back and looking at me with an expression of affection. I reach up and ruffle her hair, smiling all the while. I'm stupidly lucky, I think, to have come through everything after my heart attack and to somehow have found this girl is nothing short of a miracle. You're very welcome, Emmy. I couldn't bear the thought of giving you up. I'll even continue to stick around if you want.
I'd like that.
That settles it then. I don't know how long my heart will keep working, and I don't even really know what I'll do after this year is over, apart from going to university. As long as Emmy's around, I think I'll be okay. I've managed to help her, and she's managed to help me. If we keep doing that, we'll be okay, I think.
So, Hisao? What do you want to do today?
And that's it, folks. Emmy's Path in a nutshell. Hell of a good ending, wouldn't you say? Damn. And that's it for Katawa Shoujo, Emmy's Path. Hope you all enjoyed it. I thought it was spectacular. I told you this path had a lot more laughs than the Hanako one, which was more dramatic and sad. Although Emmy had her fair share of sadness, as you can see, with the whole graveyard scene. Yeah, I'm contemplating covering Rin's Path later on. I probably won't do it till next year. I'm trying to think of my next LP, which will be after KS. I'm not quite sure yet. I'll have to think about that for a little while, but anyways, folks, that wraps up Katawa Shoujo, Emmy's Path. Hope you all enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this experience. Hope you all did too. And stay tuned for my next LP, whatever it may be. I don't know what 158, 159, or any of the other ones are. I'm just playing it by ear at this point, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, stay tuned for my next LP, and I'll see you all later. Peace friggin' out, all.